Hello everyone, today I'm here with Betty Roeder. Betty has been afflicted with macular degeneration for the last 15 years and has been legally blind. And today she's going to share some of the stories and insights as to how to cope with the disease, and we hope this information helps everyone. Thank you. I was able to spend the day with Betty Roeder, an incredible woman and role model not only for those afflicted with macular degeneration, but for all people. Her insatiable thirst for life is an inspiration, and having been legally blind now for more than 15 years, has not kept her from living her life.
Well, when this first happened to me, I was scared, I was devastated, and I went through a grieving process, which, when you lose your central vision, you've lost something very near and dear to you. And first comes denial. And I don't believe it. It can't be true. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to see just fine. And then you wake up tomorrow and you don't see just fine. And then you get angry. You're angry at God. It's not fair. I didn't deserve it. Well, life's not fair anyway. You don't get to be as old as I am without learning that one. And then comes despair, depression. Oh, woe is me, I'll never be able to do this, I'll never be able to do that. And while I was in this mode of depression, which for me lasted a very short period, like an afternoon or something, I'm a religious person and I pray a lot. And I said, God, you gotta help me, I can't handle this all by myself. Show me what to do. Tell me what to do. How can I live with this? And that prayer was answered immediately with a thought that came into my head that no problem in life is ever solved with negative thinking. You have to stop thinking I can't and start thinking how can I? And once I started thinking how can I, my whole outlook on life changed. Right away. I accepted this as a challenge. And I thought up new and different ways of doing things. Some of them are ridiculous, but some of them are just common sense. And when people would call me with a problem that they couldn't solve, and I would come up with a solution, their response would be, why didn't I think of that? And the reason is they were too upset. You cannot think creatively when you're upset.
Betty has helped so many people who are afflicted with macular degeneration to lead normal lives, and has been a mentor and friend to so many through their struggles and hardships. She shared with me her story and the exact details she remembers from the day she lost her vision.
And when it came full-blown, it happened bingo. I was in the car driving to Gennardi's, and all of a sudden I couldn't see the car ahead of me. And that was scary. And I did continue to Gennardi's and do some shopping and crept home because I lived in Hershey's Mill, and that was just a hop, skip, and a jump from Gennardi's. But I realized then, the next day when I went out to get in my car to go somewhere, I was having a heck of a time, and I turned around and came home. And I called up my oldest son, who lives in Mechanicsburg, and I said, come and get my car, because I know I'm going to be tempted to drive it. You're out of milk, you think you'll run to Wawa's, which is like half a mile away. And I said, I know I shouldn't do that. So he came to get my car, and of course he brought his wife with him. It was a Sunday. I said, just let me back it out of the garage, And I got in the car and turned on the ignition, and the battery was dead. And I had to push it out and get out the cables and start it. And that was the end of my driving. Life is for living. And as long as I'm alive, I'm going to be living. And no matter what your handicap is, you can always do something. And I often tell people who are feeling sorry for themselves, how about doing something to help somebody else? And I said that to a lady down here one night who was at the bar and saying, well, thank goodness it's time for a drink and dinner. You know, there's nothing to do around here. And she was blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know, why don't you think about doing something to help somebody else? And she said, well, what could I do? Well, you know, that got my dander up. I said, you know what you could do? You could read my mail to me, because I have a special machine that I put my mail in. It's difficult. I have to move it around and figure out, and after I've read a little of it, it's exhausting. And I sometimes have to look a little before you know it's junk mail. She said, oh, I never thought of that. I'd be glad to. And she came and read my mail to me for a long time. And that made her feel good, and it made me feel wonderful because I had some help. Anybody that thinks they can't do something, they can.
Even after all that has happened, Mary Betty keeps an outlook on life that is more positive than one could ever expect. Writing and poetry have always been a big part of her life and help her express herself and reach so many people through her words. She shared with me a poem she once wrote.
Here's some advice I was once told on how to live a long life and never grow old. First, every day, thank the good Lord above for those that you have and all that you have and those that you love. Eat right. Let only nutritious food pass your lips. Junk food will always go straight to your hips. Exercise. Don't sit in chairs. Skip that elevator and walk up those stairs. Think young. Keep a positive point of view and try every day to learn something new. I think this advice could be the truth. It might be the road to the fountain of youth.
It's hard to believe that someone this strong could ever have a doubt or fear in the world. But Mary Betty is just like you and me. She didn't take her diagnosis lightly. She was forced to face reality.
Well, to tell you the truth, when I first found it out, I was scared that something would happen to the other eye. But after nothing happened for a period of time, I sort of forgot about it. I mean, I didn't pay much attention to it. And I lived that way for 15 years. It didn't deter me from my quilting. I have a quilt here that may go to a museum. I mean, I was pretty good. And it broke my heart to have to give up that. But it didn't upset me until I lost the vision in the good eye.
And that took how long?
15 years.
15 years from the first time.
Yeah, and that's unusual because most people develop it in the other eye within 5 years.
Wow.
And I just kept my fingers crossed and went on with my life. And it was during that period of time that I did my best quilting.
Macular degeneration has not stood in the way of Mary Betty's life for a second. She explains she had to relearn even some of the easiest tasks and take some detours day to day, but she insists that life is still hers for living.
Well, you have to be innovative and you have to plan ahead. If I get a taxi and go to the supermarket, I stock up on things. I don't ever want to run out of anything, which of course I do, but that's one thing. And there's a subsidized taxi program. They will take you to the doctors, they will take you to the dentist. But as far as your social life is concerned, most of the time your social life, and not most of the time, all of the time, involves other people. And so somebody has to come and get you. You know, if I want to go to church, somebody has to take me. And I just have to accept that, which is very hard for an independent person to do. But if you're going out to dinner, you're going with somebody. So that person will have to take you.
Being such an inspiration herself, I asked Mary Betty Roeder to share some advice and words of wisdom to those struggling with macular degeneration.
Well, I would say don't be hopeless, because you can do things. You just have to figure out a way to do them. And once you accept this disability as a challenge, and just say to yourself, I am going to meet that challenge, and I'm not going to let this spoil my life, because life is for living. Don't sit home. When somebody wants to go to the theater or the movies, go. Doesn't matter that you don't see it the way you used to. You're with your friends. You know, I had a story I told about that one Thanksgiving. Some of my family were at my home for dinner, and I cooked the dinner, the whole shooting match. And we had dinner early in the day, and late in the afternoon, the men are all involved with football, and the women are sitting around, you know, doing their needlepoint or chit-chatting or something. And one of my daughters-in-law said, I've got an idea. Why don't we women go to the movies? It's a movie at 6 o'clock, you know. And it's too early to go to bed, and it's too late to take a nap, and we should just go to the movies. And then all of a sudden there was this silence. And it occurred to me, they're thinking, uh-oh, Grammy can't see. We can't. That was a terrible suggestion, you know. I could just feel it in the air. I said, that's a wonderful idea. I'd love to go to the movies. And somebody said, you would? I said, oh, absolutely. What are we going to see? And my teenage granddaughter said, Grammy, I'll stay home with you if you want. Oh, I do. I want to go. I said, oh. So they all kind of wondered, but so we got out the paper and we went to the movies. Well, on the way, then it dawned on me, they're going to wonder where I have to sit. Am I going to have to sit in the front row and everybody's going to have a stiff neck, you know? And I said, and we sit wherever you girls want to sit, because it doesn't make a bit of difference to me. And they said, you're sure? I said, absolutely, because I'm going to listen to it, and I will see some of it out of the corner of my eye. You know, I wouldn't have missed going to the movies with the women in my family for all the tea in China. The fact I couldn't see it was, well, so you can't see it, but you have this wonderful family that want you to do something with them.
The day I spent with Mary Betty Roeder was one I'll never forget. Her spirit, her zeal for life, her love of life was just so amazing to be around. What happiness. 89 years old, legally blind for 15 years, and living each and every day to its fullest.